What happens when two of the internet's most unapologetically wild creators decide to team up? You get chaos, you get controversy, and you get headlines that sound too insane to be real. Bonnie Blue and Annie Knight aren't just OnlyFans stars, they're professional button pushers. From sex stunts that got them kicked out of countries to challenges that sparked global backlash, this duo has made it their brand to do what everyone else is too scared to try. But behind the viral headlines and jaw-dropping content is a story that's even more unhinged than you think. Because when Bonnie and Annie come together, the line between clout and catastrophe starts to blur. And that's exactly what makes them impossible to ignore. Before they became the most infamous pairing on OnlyFans, Bonnie Blue and Annie Knight were just two creators riding the waves of internet fame separately. Annie was already building a name for herself on the Gold Coast, known for her no-filter approach to content and her ability to spark headlines without even trying. Bonnie, newer to the scene, moved to Australia and quickly found herself pulled into Annie's orbit. The connection started online, a few DMs, some mutual shout-outs, and then dinner with a group of other creators. But this wasn't just a casual meetup. Something clicked. Both women realized their paths weren't just similar, they were practically mirrored. Same platform, same controversies, same hunger to push the envelope. And with media constantly pairing their names in articles, it was only a matter of time before they turned that coincidence into collaboration. That's when the idea dropped. Let's do Schoolies together. It sounded harmless at first, but what came next would launch them into viral territory and make them one of the most talked about duos in OnlyFans history. If there was ever a moment that defined Bonnie and Annie's joint brand of chaos, it was their infamous Schoolies stunt. For those outside Australia, Schoolies is basically a week-long party binge where high school graduates blow off steam, drink like it's their full-time job, and make questionable life choices by the hour. So naturally, Bonnie and Annie saw an opportunity, and they took it way too far. Their goal? According to whispers online and their own not-so-subtle hints, they wanted to celebrate with as many male virgins as possible. Yep, they quite literally turned Schoolies into a challenge of conquest. Some saw it as edgy performance art, most saw it as crossing a line. Word spread fast. Teen boys started lining up outside their hotel. College guys begged for shout-outs mid-filming. It wasn't long before the whole scene became more of a spectacle than a celebration. Tourists were caught off guard, beachgoers were dodging water pistols mid-sunset, and the energy around their presence was less spring break and more adult film festival with an open guest list. The media had a field day. Social platforms lit up. Critics called it exploitation, fans called it iconic. Either way, it was clear. Bonnie and Annie weren't just here to make content, they were here to make headlines. And they had no plans to stop. But if Schoolies caused a stir, what came next would make international news. After stirring up a media storm during Schoolies in Australia, Bonnie and Annie had a new problem: Bonnie's visa. Apparently, filming explicit content wasn't exactly what the Australian government had in mind when issuing tourist permits. So when visa violations started catching up with her, the duo packed their bags and set their sights on a new playground: Fiji. The plan? Recreate the Schoolies vibe in paradise, surrounded by partying students, white sand beaches and zero rules. But it didn't go the way they hoped. Within days of landing, they found themselves on the Fijian government's radar. Turns out openly promoting your adult tourism escapades online is a quick way to trigger alarm bells in a conservative island nation. The government didn't waste time. Police were dispatched. Deportation orders were issued. But Bonnie and Annie were already ahead of the chaos, barely. They'd seen a news article suggesting authorities were onto them and raced to the airport. According to Annie, they were writing their lawyer's number on their hands in case they got arrested at the terminal. Annie later told the Daily Star they were laughing in the taxi while simultaneously panicking about whether they'd be thrown in a Fijian prison. In the end, they escaped without confrontation. But the fallout, huge. Their deportation became headline news, and while they technically broke immigration laws, they spun the whole fiasco into profit, gaining more followers, subscribers and buzz than any marketing campaign ever could. The best part? They weren't even mad. According to them, the publicity was worth more than the trip. But the headlines didn't stop there, and neither did the backlash. As Bonnie and Annie's antics gained traction, the internet split in two. On one side were die-hard fans who praised them for breaking boundaries and refusing to conform to traditional expectations. On the other, outrage. Media outlets, parenting groups, and even fellow creators began speaking out, questioning not just the stunts themselves, but the ethics behind them. Critics zeroed in on the Schoolies incident, calling it exploitative and dangerously close to crossing legal and moral lines. The fact that many of the participants were barely of legal age raised serious concerns, even among liberal circles. Then came the Fiji episode, which transformed their brand of recklessness from local controversy to international scandal. Articles weren't just calling them provocative anymore. They were calling them irresponsible, irredeemable, dangerous. But Bonnie and Annie didn't flinch. In fact, they leaned in harder. They clapped back on social media, they mocked the outrage, and they used every wave of criticism as content. Where others might have apologized, they monetized the drama. To them, backlash was just another form of engagement, and engagement meant money. Still, the questions lingered. At what point does shock value cross into something darker? And how far are these two willing to go just to stay relevant? That question would keep haunting them, especially as rumors of even more extreme stunts started swirling online. At first glance, Bonnie Blue and Annie Knight might seem like two chaotic creators stumbling from scandal to scandal. But dig deeper, and a different theory emerges. Maybe the chaos is the strategy. Every move they've made, from the Schoolies stunt to the Fiji deportation, follows the same pattern: shock the internet, attract backlash, ride the wave of free publicity, and cash in. It's not just fame, it's a formula, and it works. They don't just respond to controversy, they anticipate it. They know exactly how far to push before something tips into illegality. Even when deported, they turned the situation into a marketing masterclass. Every outrageous headline becomes a funnel for new subscribers. Every moral panic becomes a conversation, one they control. Some fans believe they're playing four-dimensional chess while everyone else is reacting emotionally. Others say it's reckless clout-chasing disguised as empowerment. But either way, Bonnie and Annie aren't just chasing viral fame. They're engineering it, deliberately, ruthlessly, successfully. And while critics debate whether their content is too much, their bank accounts are answering a different question entirely. But as the stunts grow riskier, one can't help but wonder, what happens when the next boundary is too far? Every viral star hits a turning point. For Bonnie Blue and Annie Knight, that moment might be closer than it seems. They've already conquered headlines, shattered social norms and stirred international drama. Their partnership has gone from wild collaboration to cultural lightning rod. But fame built on controversy is a double-edged sword, and the more outrageous their content becomes, the more unstable their spotlight gets. There's growing speculation that the duo is running out of new ways to shock the internet. Rumours of upcoming mega stunts have started swirling on fan forums, with whispers of collaborations, international events, and even full-blown documentary pitches. But at what cost? Fans are starting to ask, will Bonnie and Annie burn out or evolve? Are they future media moguls or cautionary tales? One thing is certain, they've redefined what viral looks like in the OnlyFans era. Whether they end up as icons of digital rebellion or examples of when the internet goes too far, their impact is undeniable. Because love them or hate them, you are watching.